Warning. This podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. If you are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. I feel like this is going to be a slight shift because, yeah, we talk about sex and sexuality and empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. But there's something that's come up in the reader interviews that we've done that I feel like needs a little bit more. And it's something that I didn't relate to, so I've had to really think about. And it is mental health and romance, specifically in the time of COVID.
Yes.
Yes, I know. COVID. It happened, y'all. It's gonna be a thing for forever.
For forever.
And what has come out of COVID is a lot of new romance readers we've found. And there are probably a number of different factors that I can assume contributed to that. We were all stuck at home.
Yeah.
There wasn't much we could do. We watched everything on every streaming platform.
Tiger King, so that's all I'm going to say to that.
What did you say?
Tiger King.
Yeah, I never watched that.
It's
I'm
okay.
look, I am a terrible example of this. I didn't sourdough. I didn't Wordle. I didn't any of that. I didn't Tiger King. I'm trying to, what were other major fads that came through during COVID?
You pretty much hit the big ones. Like, those were
the big ones. Yeah, so those are the big ones, and I didn't do any of them. But I think for people who did that and they ran through all of that and they went, what else can I do to make me happy? Many new consumers found romance and a lot of ebooks. You got things on your phone. Maybe you also ordered physical books because you weren't going to bookstores. But with the access of ebooks that we had, the devices we were already using, and the ability to just download as many as you wanted or get access through a service like Kobo or KU or your library. Let's not fucking forget libraries, friends.
Absolutely.
Many people came to romance, and the appeal is certainly its content, its stories, it's exciting, but the promise of a happily ever after. And this is a hill that I'm going to die on. There are things that make up certain things. There are rules that make it football or soccer versus Aussie rules football or rugby or American football. There are clear definitions of those things, like netball versus basketball. They're not the same. And if you're playing something and you call it basketball, but the rules you're giving are netball, it's not basketball, it's netball. And one of the rules of romance, not love stories, romance as a genre, is that there is a happily ever after or a happily for now. They end up together happily. If it doesn't contain that, it's not a romance. It can be a love story. There are beautiful love stories that are not romance. Like Romeo and Juliet, love story, not a romance. I'm going to argue, I'm going to use other mediums, but like The Kissing Booth, love story, not a romance. They don't end up together. That is something that I want to put out there, especially because of this conversation we're going to have. And for people looking and who found romance, the idea that no matter what these characters were going through, no matter what the world was throwing at them, no matter how low they seemed, at the end of this tale, we as a consumer are promised a happily ever after, romantically. I mean, everyone around them could be dead, but romantically, a happily ever after is incredibly comforting. Became a coping mechanism for a lot of people around their mental health. It helped them cope mentally with everything and all the uncertainty around by knowing when they were consuming this, the love story, the couple was safe. Everyone around them might die. It might just be the two of them on a bare rock at the end of the story. But they were going to be together. And I am going to bring it back to mental health. Like, people were struggling with their mental health. And so I was really thinking about this after a few interviews. And I said this to someone. I'm like, was everyone just happy before COVID? Like, no one needed this before COVID. They were just totally fine. To which the person I was having this conversation with went, no, they just had other coping mechanisms that were no longer available to them during COVID, which makes a lot more sense. So for all of you who lost your coping mechanisms during COVID, that sucks. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine. That is no wonder you came to romance. And so I do, hi Tiger, want to share, I want to share a little bit about
It's causing problems.
Tiger is like, we will not be having this conversation, Chase. Like, this is a little too heavy even for me.
Yeah.
And I'm an emotional support cat.
He is, very much so.
Yeah. Tiger is the kitty who's like, no. Oh, did you ever watch Big Mouth?
I did not watch it.
Honestly, the first season is like one of the best, how it's the best thing I've ever seen created about how puberty feels.
Okay.
Like, obviously there aren't hormone monsters.
Right.
But the feeling of puberty, I was like, that's so accurate. And I was watching it with a male human, a sex assigned at birth male. And we looked at each other and we were like, is that what it was like for you? Because that's what it was like for me. And I will link in the show notes the appearance of the hormone monstress, because I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in like watching a clip. And I was like, oh yeah, that's puberty. That's being a 13-year-old girl right there. That's the exact, like, she's you don't love your mother anymore. Her name is Shannon. Like,
yes.
I was like, okay. Well, just like cutting into the quick. But there's a depression kitty in Big Mouth. And the depression kid, like the depression kitty just like surrounds you with their fur and like sits on you and you can't do anything and you can't move because the depression kitty just like lays on top of you. I'm not saying Tiger is a depression kitty.
No, but he does.
But I feel like Tiger would be like, this is how I protect you and I like hold you by just stopping everything in its tracks. And so that was the image in my brain. That That was where that
was a tangent, but accurate, because Tiger does like,
I hear it's also
he plops himself right here when I'm like sleeping in my chair, and he's just like, I'm just gonna lay here and suffocate you with my love.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Which is another coping mechanism that came out of COVID, is people adopting pets.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
I didn't do that either. How did I make it through?
That's fine.
Like, there's so many things that people did, and I went, no, I did. I got plants, actually. Plants were
you
my
did the plants.
my sourdough.
That was the other thing. Yep.
I did the plant thing. Romance novels became a comforting thing for people, and in a way that often we turn to shows or movies that we've seen over and over. We know how they'll end. Even if they're sad movies, even if there's tragedy, there's something about knowing the pattern and being able to identify the pattern, like I know what's coming next, that is really great for the human brain. And if you never knew this, number one, most people don't know this if they don't have children, but I know this because I have people who have literally studied this for master's degrees in like children's educational content. If you are of a certain age, you know the show Blue's Clues. Blue's Clues, great show. We love you, Steve. We miss you, Steve. It was revolutionary because it was the first show ever for children that aired one episode a week, every day of the week, Monday through Friday. They aired the same episode all 5 days. And most people thought that's dumb. Children are going to get bored. They don't want to watch the same episode every week. And they were wrong, because children, like all of us humans, like to feel smart and like to recognize patterns and like to know what's coming next. So on Monday, they watched the show because Blue's Clues was awesome and we wanted to solve the clues.
Yeah.
But on Friday, they loved it even more because they knew what was coming and they watched it and they could shout out the answers with gusto when asked the question of where's the clue? It's there, it's over, it's a this, it's a that. And they could feel smart and they could appreciate it. And it became a huge success and is still going on to this day. So good job. And that's why a lot of people, when they're feeling big, out of control feelings, will go back to various forms of media, not just books, but TV shows and other things and movies that bring them comfort in their familiarity. But romance as a genre has that guaranteed ending built in. So you already know what you can expect emotionally to a certain extent from the end of the book.
Yeah.
And that became incredibly comforting for a lot of people.
Especially in a moment in time where everything
when they
was
lost
uncertain.
Everything else that was comforting.
Well, and everything was uncertain.
People were dying. We didn't know why. We didn't know how.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to stop it. We were washing our groceries in like alcohol.
Yeah.
Like nobody had an answer yet. But I also want to talk about just general mental health because it has continued in this vein. Romance readers continue to come out in droves and be more and more new readers are drawn to the genre because I don't know if you know this, but it's a bit of a dumpster fire. I'm just going to point right here, dumpster fire.
Yes.
Have I shown this? I don't show this to Michael, so you get to see it first. For those of you at home or just listening to this, I got this cute little punchkin, which is basically like an adult stuffed animal that's meant to sit on a shelf. And it is a dumpster on fire. And on the front of it, because it's, we anthropomorphize it, it's got a little face with big wide eyes and little feet. And above the little face, it says, I'm fine, ... Everything is fine. For those of you watching the video, here's my little push.
He's so
Punchkin.
cute.
He is so cute and I love him. And in my brain, whenever I'm feeling like it's a dumpster fire, I'll just point up and there's my little everything's on fire.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a punchkin too. This is also a punchkin. My rainbow.
Oh,
For
nice.
again, those of you who see things, this is a much happier one. It's a rainbow and it's got a winky face. And on the clouds at the bottom, it says, "Sounds gay. I'm in." Well, shoot. Here we go.
Oh, she's cute too. I like it.
I don't know if there's a gender assigned to a punchkin.
I don't know why I did that.
Because men can wink too, and non-binary people can wink, and all people on the gender spectrum can give a good wink.
It's true. I apologize.
It's okay. I mean, if you were attracted to her and you felt like the gender that you were attracted to within her was feminine, then beautiful. I love that for you. Enjoy. I wish you many, many happy longing looks through the camera. So I'm going to talk about my journey with romance.
Okay.
And also a little bit of my mental health journey, which I don't think I've shared on the podcast.
Mm-mm.
Cool friends. Now I'm going to state right now that I have a wonderful therapist. I have had many years of therapy. I'm in a great place. We might touch upon some things that are not easy to hear. There is going to be talk of self-harm and thoughts of dark thoughts. So if that's really triggering for you, please don't listen.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to subject yourself to something that could traumatize you or harm you. This is simply my story, and I want to share it in the hopes that it resonates with someone in a way that is helpful, not harmful. So whatever you need to do as part of this story, that is, please,
keep yourself safe.
Take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Thank you. Take care of yourself. Keep yourself safe.
Mm-hmm.
Your mental health matters.
Yes.
So I've mentioned that I found romance in early middle school. I believe, and I remember the first explicit book I read, and I was like, motherfucker, what the hell's happening? But I found romance at a time when it was very dark in my life. And the first things that I would qualify as romance stuff that I keep going back to Tamora Pierce's Tortall series that all ends with someone in a happily ever after getting married. I fucking love The Queen of Atolia is one of my favorite books of all time. Just, oh my gosh, by Megan Wallen Turner. And that is a hard love story. There's so much love in that book, but, someone's hand gets cut off.
Oh, God.
A government is overthrown. Multiple people are kidnapped and imprisoned. It's certainly not light. Oh my gosh, have you never read this?
No.
Oh my God. It's like The Thief, which is the first book in the series, feels very middle graded. It's an adventure book. And the second book takes a really dark, beautiful, oh my gosh, you have to read it.
Okay.
You have to read it. If you're an audiobook person, Shane East narrates the whole fucking series. And you know how I feel about Shane East. And it's not actually Shane East. It's his normal human audio narrator name. It's Steve West. But he didn't do that when I read these books. Like, audiobooks weren't really a thing, but I found the audiobooks and then I went, what is going on? I'm reading The Thief, but something in my brain is like, is this sexy? I don't know if this is sexy. And it's because Steve West and Shane East are the same human, and Steve West narrates that series.
Gotcha.
But I'd only known him from really steamy books. Anyway, this is going to be so tangenty. Just because, number one, dolphining, and two, it's uncomfortable. But in 6th grade, I was in 6th grade, so 11 years old, I was depressed. And I don't mean like sad and puberty sucks, because puberty sucks. I mean engaging in acts of self-harm and thinking the thoughts that I do not have. I'm, again, letting y'all know I am safe. I am healthy in my mental space. But there were many days at that time in my life when I wished I went to sleep and did not wake up. And that's hard. That is, I don't even think I can adequately express, and you can't, what it feels like at any age, but certainly at 11, when you have so few words for what's happening in the world and in your body and what's going on, how to experience those things and how to express them and how to even understand them. And I'm gonna brag a little bit about where I grew up, because when we went into middle school and where I grew up, we had 3 different schools. You had elementary school, which was K through 5, middle school 6, 7, and 8, because put all the hormones together.
Of course.
Put all of
course.
puberty into one building and let it rot from the inside out. And then a high school, which was 9 through 12. And at some point in that first year of 6th grade, every single class got a visit from the school's social workers. And they came in and they did a presentation on who they were and what their job was and what you could come to them for. And it was the first time I ever heard about depression as a thing, or in some sort of standardized way, or self-harm, or all of those things. And I just sat there going, oh, I'm doing that. And because I like authority figures, I was like, this authority figure just told me if those are things happening in my life, then I need to go see them. And so I went and I saw them. And I went and I saw them and I told them all the things that were happening in my brain and what I was doing to my body. And they brought in my parents, who were incredibly wonderful and kind and supportive and everything I could have asked for. And we found a therapist. We found a real child therapist as well, who I could work with and who I saw throughout my time as a young person with my family. And I used the resources in college, and I continue to see a therapist. So I'm a big proponent of therapy.
Same.
God fucking love therapists.
Yes.
But to say that there were a lot of heavy things in my brain, and one of the ways that I coped was certainly reading. I've always been a reader. I remember reading Black Beauty.
Yep.
Has anyone read Black Beauty?
Oh,
anyone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I read Black Beauty every September from 2nd grade until I graduated high school.
That's
like every amazing. Year that was. Thank you. I also wonder if that's where my deep compassion for those who are not like me and those who suffer come from.
Yeah.
Because that is but also, who gave 7-year-old Jace Black Beauty and went, this is emotionally appropriate for you? You're going to read about a horse who's going to suffer. Right? I'm just thinking back on it. Is this really an appropriate book for a 2nd grader? And to be fair, I don't think it was given to me. We had a set of classics, children's books, including The Secret Garden and Black Beauty. And I think I just grabbed it because it was pretty and read it myself. Yeah. So it wasn't like it was given to me as assigned reading in school or by my parents. I did this. It wasn't like Where the Red Fern Grows, which is trauma that
Was school sanctioned
Like-
trauma.
School sanctioned trauma. Again, I talked to someone recently who has never read that book, and I was like, you don't understand pain
No.
until you've read that book as a child.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking, I think, with my mother at one point. I'm like, I distinctly remember reading that book and being inconsolable and having you laugh at me because you were like, oh, I know exactly what it is, but I also look ridiculous when I cry.
Bridge to Terabithia is another one.
No, never read it. I won't read it. I knew that movie came out a little too early for me, but I knew what happened because I have friends with older siblings. No, I will never read that book.
Don't.
My Girl. Oh my gosh, I watched My Girl.
My Girl.
That movie.
Oh,
he needs his glasses. He doesn't have. Oh my God. Right?
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Pulling out the childhood trauma today, y'all.
Trauma.
So I think for me, but what I did is I reread those books over and over. Books that I loved, books that I had around that meant something to. The Wayside School books, which are not romance. Wayside School.
No, but Wayside School are amazing.
They are amazing, but they're not romance, but they're happy, wonderful books. And I would just reread them over and over and over again. And so this idea of comfort reading is something that I participated in from a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was dealing with very heavy thoughts and very heavy feelings, it was comforting to know that there was a story where you made it through the hard thing and that there was a through the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky that belief of there is a way through and a time after the hard thing has been part of my psyche and part of my journey, primarily through life, post those first very dark years. But it also made me wonder, like, is the reason why I love romance and I'm so drawn to it because this mental health journey has been a part of me for most of my life. So for me, there have been like high times and really hard times in my mental health journey, and going back to stories that not only are predictable, I know how they're going to end, but also end happily is something that is deeply comforting during those hard times in a way that I think other genres, not that they aren't,
right?
But like when I'm feeling bad, you know what I don't want to read? Hamlet.
Oh my God, no.
I don't even think the Simpsons version of Hamlet is what I'm going to turn to when I'm feeling like deep existential dread.
Or Macbeth, or anything that is categorized as a tragedy with Shakespeare.
Not really. Like, I'm really just listing Shakespeare because that's the other other literary love of my life. But I also am so curious because so much of the romance that existed and the romance that I was drawn to back then is different than the romance now. And I'm not just saying like we're more evolved now, we have a little bit more diversity. I'm saying a little bit, not enough, just a little bit. But we also get literally different contracts. I got a little moment with Ashley Poston, she writes a lot of things. She writes YA and she writes adult, but I love y'all. Somehow we ended up in front of each other and I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. You're awesome. And we were talking about the contracts. Oh, because she mentioned Laurell K. Hamilton. And I was like, anyone who mentioned
your buzzword.
Hamilton, obviously. We're in love, we're getting married. Exactly. It's great. But so we were talking about that, and I asked her, as someone who's in trad pub and in different genres, I said, I'm not seeing these long series, these ongoing series like we did with Laurell K. Hamilton and J.R. Ward and Nalini Singh and Alona Andrews and Cressley Cole, like these bigger, longer series. And some of them, like Cressley Cole or J.R. Ward, each book is about a different couple versus Alona Andrews and Laurell K. Hamilton, where they're about one particular focal character and it just keeps going. And Ashley had a totally different point to make about why we're not getting those kinds of things. But it was very interesting to me because the romance, I mean, Laurell K. Hamilton is still fucking writing. Anita Blake has not had a happily ever after. It's been 30 years. 30 years. She's got a massive polycule that I need like a college size whiteboard to figure out.
It's that meme with Charlie Day, and he's standing in front of the whiteboard with all of the strings, and he's like,
yes. Oh, like straight up, yes. Honestly, the next book that she writes, can she just have an image of the polycule? Because I can't I can't. But even those stories where like the love was not happily ever after yet. Well, even the romance back then, it might have been like a singular book, but we didn't get those real clear happily ever afters that we do now. You kind of only got them in movies where you knew it was going to be like a one and done. You didn't and I know there was a second She's All That, but you really only got the one. You only got Drive Me Crazy, that one movie.
Yeah.
They ended up together and you just assumed forever, off into the distance. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Well, she kept him. Like that was, that was the closest to the happily ever after that we were really getting consistently.
Yeah.
And it does make me wonder now with so many books that end that aren't interconnected, they're not series. You've got like we talk about Emily Henry, and is Emily Henry the be all end all? No, but I think that she is. There's things about her that almost anyone can enjoy in her writing, especially in her writing of romance. If you want my opinion, go read Book Lovers. It's my favorite. It's my favorite one of hers. Actually, my favorite Emily Henry book is not an adult romance. It's actually a YA called The Love That Split the World. It's not a romance. It's not even a YA romance. I just thought it was one of the coolest books that I'd read in a while, so I love it. But her books, as far as we know right now, are not connected. They're not in the same series. They're not in the same world. I don't even hear about Easter eggs in her books the way that I do with an author like Ali Hazelwood or a non-romance author like TJ Klune. There just aren't the Easter eggs that they exist on their own, and it's beautiful. But I think part of the reason why I was so compelled to talk about mental health and romance is we're in for another one of these, another dumpster fire season.
And if you don't
think we're in for a dumpster fire, if you don't think we're in for a dumpster fire season, please stop listening to this podcast. You are not the person I want to talk to. Sorry. Like, full transparency. If you don't think what's happening right now in the United States is a dumpster fire, fascism, and a disaster that you never thought that you would experience in your life, get the fuck off this podcast.
Yeah.
You are not here to love and respect all humans, and therefore, I do not want to engage with you. You are a bad human, in fact.
Yes.
Sorry, not sorry. But for those of us who do believe that love is love and all people are deserving of love, inherently, some people are assholes, and I don't want you to define love because you're a terrible person, but all of humanity is deserving of love. What romance novels can do for us not in place of therapy, not in place of medication, it cannot solve your mental health crises. But what it can do is remind you that there is an after to the hard thing you're going through. That when the world around you is exploding and you feel isolated and alone, that there is an after. Because if Akenna can find out that she has world-ending powers and choose to use it for good at the end of the blood gift and the blood trials, then you can use the immense power you have to overthrow a racist patriarchal system and build something better.
Yeah. One of the things that I have learned in my therapy, because I have my comfort books too. I think mine is the Anne of Green Gables 8-book series that I read.
I've never read Anne of Green Gables. I know. I have like Ginger Family and we never read it.
It is such a comfort series for me. Like when I'm in a really bad spot, I will pick it up and start reading about Anne Shirley and I'm like instantly just settled. So like I get it. The comfort that, because there's a romance in those books. It's Anne and Gilbert and you are rooting for them from the beginning and they're happily ever after. I mean, those books are decades old, so I'm not worried about spoiling them for people. But like
it's like if someone listened to this and went, Romeo and Juliet's not happy. Like, oh, sweet baby.
Oh, you sweet summer child. If that's the case for you about Romeo and Juliet. But like something I've learned through reading the Anne books and through my own therapy sessions is like you have succeeded 100% of the time if you are here.
Yeah.
And that means you will get to the other side of this bad thing because you've already done it.
Yeah.
You have 100% success rate up to this moment. You can do it. And I think that's something that romance and even non-romance comfort books or coping mechanisms help us find is that feeling like, okay, if I can do this far, I can do it a little bit further because I already have the moment that I know is good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I think that this is a time in the world where we need romance for a number of reasons. I think that right now in the world, there are people being told that they do not deserve a happily ever after. They do not deserve love. They do not deserve to exist in this world. And that is some fucking bullshit. And so championing stories where these humans are not just a protagonist, but also worthy of love and this thing called a happily ever after is incredibly important for us to remember because all humans deserve that, but also for those humans to see themselves being given that happily ever after. I think for us in our brains, we need to remember that there is a way through, that there is a path forward, that there is love and human kindness, and all of that is around us, that we deserve to see people who are passionate and kind and respectful towards one another, unless you're into some like dark romance stuff and like that's a totally different situation and that heals you in other ways. Go read it. Read that. I'm listening to a bully romance and I don't think bully is for me. That's just,
I have issues with bully romance.
I don't like it.
I don't.
You know what? I know people like it, and that's fine. And like, I don't yuck anybody's yum. And this is an author that I like, but just the like,
I think, yeah.
I don't like it when you treat her like that and then you fuck her.
Yeah.
No, it's just not for me. So if you want a little degradation in a scene, that's different. That is negotiated and spoken about, and that is great. But bully romances, to me, they feel different than degradation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would agree with that completely.
Just in conclusion, number one, if you're struggling mentally right now, you're not alone. You're not alone. If you have the resources to get a therapist, find one. Therapy is incredible. If you need drugs, take drugs. If you don't need drugs, don't take drugs. Don't bother other people if they take drugs and you don't, or if you do take drugs and they don't. Everybody's brain is different.
Or
allow romance novels. Yeah,
I was gonna say one of my favorite new musical artists right now, Noah Kahan. He has a song called "Call Your Mom," and I love it. And it's basically about how he's like, I will call your mom. I will be the reason that you are still here because I will call your mother. But the bridge of the song, he says the words, medicate, meditate, save your soul for Jesus, throw a punch, fall in love, give yourself a reason. It's my favorite part of the song. But just find it. Find something that gives you a reason to keep going.
Oh my gosh, it's turned so heavy. I'm going to try and lighten it up, not because like it shouldn't be heavy and you shouldn't sit in the heavy, and press pause if you need to sit in the heavy, but because I don't like sitting in the heavy without a therapist. Let romance novels give you that little boost of serotonin, because it's a pattern recognition. You know that there is a way from point A to point B, and your little happy brain will figure it out. You also know that at the end of the road is a story you want to hear, that's going to uplift you, that's going to make you smile, that might make you feel funny feelings in your pants along the way, depending on the romance that you read. Just, if you want my personal suggestion, pick up an MMF novel. It's my favorite.
It's your favorite. I am finding I am really liking the why choose option, which
you like. And technically MMF is why choose. I'm just getting specific.
Yes.
I'm just getting specific. I want the boyfriends to also be boyfriends.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I want the boyfriends to also be boyfriends. So let yourself go down the rabbit hole. Maybe you've discovered that, you know what, you need some tentacles. Anything that isn't a tentacle, I have some recommendations. There is that time I got drunk and yeeted a love potion at a werewolf. It's not a tentacle monster, but they're smoke tentacles and they are used well. There is Rowan Merrick's Tentacles and Teeth. There is a Cleo Evans Cosmic Kiss. There are tentacles. There are a lot of places with tentacles that you can use, that you can find. And those, I just threw those out there.
Yeah, you did.
Ready.
I am very impressed with that.
Tentacles are not my thing. They aren't, I promise.
You had them on tap, man. That was impressive.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, we have killed Jace.
I think I killed it. I broke myself.
Oh my god.
Okay. The point of that was let yourself go down the rabbit hole. Get as niche as you want. If you only want something very specific, you need a fuck it moment. You need a my wife moment.
Mhm.
You need
Who did,
some really
who did this
specific
to you?
thing. Who did this to you?
Mhm.
If you want like the micro, if you want certain kinks, if you want, and I'm not just like bondage. Oh, I tied you to the headboard. No, if you want like violet wands, if you want like, what did I make tying to the headboard seem so lame and vanilla? I know for some people that is the kinkiest thing that
Yes,
they've ever done, but
yes.
in my brain, I'm like, it's vanilla. Like, oh no, just tying me to the like, it can be not vanilla,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
like, if you're like, I bought these fuzzy handcuffs, and maybe that's still vanilla. I'm like saving my tears. Ooh, that's a lot of makeup. But let yourself go down that kink, let yourself go down that thing. It does not fucking matter because
Mhm.
this is you and your coping mechanism. It's like the people who do weird things with like their favorite sandwich. Like, this is the sandwich that I eat when I need comfort.
Yeah.
I don't know what your sandwich is. I don't know what your little special snack that people go eat. I will, you know what? I'm going to share it. I'm going to share mine with you all. I like to eat cookies and milk in a weird way. And I do this specifically with either Oreos or chocolate chip cookies, where I will fill a cup with the cookies and I will then fill it halfway with milk. And then I will leave it for like 20 minutes.
So they get all
and
soggy.
then I mush the whole thing up and swirl it around and I eat it with a spoon.
It's like a deconstructed milkshake. Like,
I can't, it looks so gross,
can
is what I've been
imagine.
told from people who have witnessed me eating this. And that is a sign of love. If like at your bottom, you're like, this is my comfort food. And your partner's like, that's beautiful. I'm going to turn around,
I will never,
but I can't watch you, but I will be physically present, not watching you while this happens.
I'm going to I can't think of, okay, I'll tell you mine and I will tell you our lovely editors, because he's already put this on like out in the world. So I feel like it's okay if I can share it.
It's in a different is it in a different podcast?
It's on a different podcast, yes.
Well, share what podcast that is so that Michael gets a little cred
In
for
the
that.
Jar. And
that one.
Yes. So mine is cinnamon bread with Cheese Whiz spread on it.
Okay, that like cinnamon raisin
no
bread
raisins,
or just cinnamon bread?
Cinnamon bread.
Okay.
Yeah, with Cheese Whiz on it.
Like from a can.
No, the spread, like the glass jar.
I don't know the glass jar, but that's why I had to ask.
Yeah, it's Cheese Whiz brand. It's a glass jar and it's like it's a spread and
it's like the Nutella but cheese.
Yeah, that's a really good description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael's, our lovely editor, ketchup sandwiches. Bread.
Okay.
Ketchup. Bread.
Good for y'all. I also don't think that there's anything better on this earth than like a carb and a fat put together.
Yeah.
So like
absolutely
bread and olive oil, like croissant butter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like pork dumplings. Like it's just there's no carb fat together.
It's perfect.
Scone and cream.
Yeah, like a clotted cream
cheese.
Like a clotted cream that that they have in like England.
Good shit.
The good shit.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Come back with me from the summer. Oh my God.
Jealous.
I made scones the other day. I was like really craving it, and I had these extra caramel chips, and so I made scones, like cream scones.
Oh.
And it's like a butter and then half and half in the scone itself. And then I added these caramel chips. Oh my God, they were so good.
Sorry, y'all. We've turned into a food podcast. That's all we're doing now.
We've turned into a food podcast. I think actually I put them in my Instagram stories a couple weeks ago. So if you follow me on Instagram, you might get to see. If you want to see more of me baking, because that is my comfort thing. Okay, back to the romance and the mental health. So sorry, Michael. Kind of not sorry.
No.
So go down whatever rabbit hole you want.
Yeah.
Love your thing. Read more of your thing. And if you find things that you love that someone has already written, that means you're not alone. Like, reassure yourself that if you love it and someone else has written it, it means that you're not alone in loving that thing and having it bring you comfort and joy.
Exactly.
Let yourself enjoy things, and enjoy things that society has deemed frivolous or stupid or ultra feminine, because, you know, the patriarchy is trying to keep us down. Now it's a real thing. It's really doing its job. And champion these primarily women, because there are other marginalized communities who are doing this, but for the most of you who are listening to this are probably women. Champion those women who are telling and shouting and sharing these stories of women getting the happily ever after that they deserve.
Yes.
Because they deserve it. You deserve it. We all deserve it. And let romance be one of, not all of, your coping mechanisms. And I think the line with so many things is, if it interferes with your life in other ways, if it makes you unproductive, if it makes you disconnect from friends, family, other things that you have enjoyed in the past, then that's where romance becomes a problem. If you're like, so sorry, I can't even like listen to my spouse, my partner, my friends, my roommates, because I always have an audiobook in my ear, or I'm going to ignore everything around me to read this. Monitor yourself, because if y'all remember last May, I read 39 books in the month of May. Yeah, I wasn't engaging in life in that month. It was April or May. I was not engaging in the world, and I used the romance novels, and especially because I get to do this for a living, as an excuse. Like, so sorry, I can't engage with the world right now because I need to read this. And the answer was no. I needed to do other things. I needed to feed myself. I needed to clean. I needed to laundry. But until you reach that point, like with anything, like with any coping mechanism, treat yourself with kindness. Love on these stories. They are here to bring us joy, as Megan Quinn has said, that she wants everyone who reads her story to feel the joy. Yeah. And I think we all deserve a little of that right now, because this dumpster fire is happening right now. And so for those of you who are in the middle of it, for those of you who find this episode when you really need it, I hope this too brings you joy. I hope this inspires you to read Queen of Atolia, because they do have a happily ever after, even though it starts off with the FMC cutting off the hand of the MMC. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it's on my list now.
If they can have a happily ever after, if they're going to have a happily ever after, you can have a happily ever after. Bye. Jace Reads Romance is a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Produced by Seffi, edited by Michael Achenbach. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. For show notes and more, head to www.jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow us on socials at Jace Reads Romance everywhere. For more exclusive content, visit us on Substack, where you'll find extended episodes, bonus episodes, and more. Have a question, story, or book recommendation you know I'll love? Email Jace at jacereadsromance.com or call and leave a voicemail at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And as always, this is Jace, holding space for you.